Well, hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica Leichtweisz. I'm a BCBA who's passionate about helping you study and pass your BCBA exam. So today we're going to talk about a question I get all of the time, and it's one that is super confused, but super easy to understand. And that's what's the difference between a spontaneous recovery and resurgence. So if you're confused, I promise by the end of the video, you won't be. So stay tuned. Well, hey guys, and welcome back. So one of the questions I get all the time is what's the difference between a spontaneous recovery and resurgence? Now, we know that these are both things that happen during extinction, right? And they're both referred to behaviors that were extinguished coming back. So what's the difference? Well, a spontaneous recovery is when after a behavior has been extinguished for a long time, doesn't matter how long, maybe it's weeks, maybe it's months, maybe it's years. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the child engages in the behavior again. So let's just say that a child was engaging in a behavior of spitting at a therapist for attention, right? If you've been in the field, chances are you've had a child who's done that before. Well, let's say you extinguish the behavior, you don't provide them any attention. And then one day, out of nowhere, maybe 3 months after the behavior has been extinguished, all of a sudden the child spits at you. That's called a spontaneous recovery. You have no idea why it happened. And as long as you do not reinforce the behavior, chances are it will not be reinforced, right? And it'll go back to being on extinction. You won't see it come up again. So what is resurgence and why is it different? And they are two completely different things. And once you know the distinction, you'll be easily able to make the distinction. With resurgence, it's different than spontaneous recovery because you know exactly why the behavior came back. So let's look at the previous example for attention and for spitting, right? Let's say that you were putting spitting on extinction, and instead you taught the child a functionally appropriate replaced behavior to get attention. Let's say, excuse me, or telling you a joke, right? Those are functionally appropriate ways to get attention. So let's say you go on and you're reinforcing, excuse me, and you're reinforcing, excuse me. So the behavior of spitting, it doesn't happen because the child has another way to get attention. But let's just say over time, maybe consciously because you put it on an intermittent reinforcement schedule and thinned it too far, or maybe you just inadvertently stopped reinforcing, excuse me. So now the child is no longer receiving reinforcement for the replacement behavior. In other words, the replacement behavior is no longer working. When the replacement behavior that you taught a child no longer works, no longer accesses reinforcement, it's just like that replacement behavior having been put on extinction. So what happens is the old behavior of spitting, which at one point used to get reinforcement, will resurge or come back. So resurgence is when a behavior that's been previously extinguished reappears specifically because you stop reinforcing the replacement behavior that was taught at the time that you extinguished it. So the replacement behavior is no longer working, so they revert back to the previously extinguished behavior. So that's resurgence. So as you can see, they're two very different things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you 2 mock questions for my B intensive. This is part of Task List B, where you can see in action what questions will look like when they're talking about resurgence and what questions will look like when they're talking about spontaneous recovery. So that way, when you're taking your exam, you'll be able to pick out the difference on your test. So I'm going to share my screen now, and you won't see me because I want you to be able to see the entire screen, but you'll still continue hearing me explain the difference between the two. Okay, guys, and welcome back. So I'm going to read this question to you. It says, Joancy is a BCBA working with Martha. Martha was engaging in the behavior of throwing her toys off the desk whenever a demand was placed on her. Joancy instructed her RBT Sam to allow Martha to request a break with a break card. Initially, it worked very well. Sam no longer allowed Martha's behavior of throwing to get her a break and only reinforced Martha for using the break card, right? So this right here is a DRA procedure, extinction with DRA. Eventually, over time, and without even realizing it, Sam stopped giving Martha a break when she used the break card. This caused the throwing behavior to come back. What happened in this scenario? In this example, the answer that we're going to be looking for is going to be resurgence, right? Because we know why the behavior came back if we were to look into the question. It says here, eventually, over time, And this is how I want you guys to break down your questions on the test, right? Without even realizing it, Samantha stopped giving Martha a break when she used the break card. Okay, this is telling us the replacement behavior was no longer reinforced, and that's what caused the throwing to come back. That is going to be an example of resurgence. And the way I underlined it and broke it down for you, that's what I want you to look for when you're taking your BCBA exam. So let's look at a question where the example would be spontaneous recovery. Joancy is a BCBA working with Martha. Martha was engaging in the behavior of throwing her toys off the desk whenever demand was placed on her. Throwing was put on extinction and the behavior stopped completely. After several months of not throwing toys, one day Martha threw the toys off the desk when a demand was placed. Joancy ignored the behavior and kept the demand in place. The behavior did not come back. So this is going to be an example here of spontaneous recovery. Well, how do you know that looking at the answer choices? Some people would say, oh, it's after several months of not throwing the toys, right? Well, that tells us time passed and it was on extinction. The reality of it is what we're really talking about is that a behavior came back and we don't know why. A behavior that was previously extinguished came back and we don't know why. When that's the case, we call it a spontaneous recovery. So when I want you to think about these examples and remember the difference, spontaneous, what does spontaneous mean? It means like totally random, right? Out of nowhere. And that's what a spontaneous recovery is, out of nowhere. And you're gonna see some sort of indication of out of nowhere. So here it says after several months of not throwing. That's gonna be your key word, but it could say out of nowhere, one day the behavior came back. Even though she's been doing fantastic and hasn't been throwing, one day she started to throw, right? So whatever it is, there's going to be some indication that it was a spontaneous, right? Out of the blue. You don't know why it happened. And that's going to be the difference between spontaneous recovery and resurgence. It has nothing to do with the amount of time that's passed. It simply has to do with the fact that resurgence has to do with the fact that you've stopped reinforcing a replacement behavior. And with a spontaneous recovery, you have no idea why it happened. It just happened one day. All right, guys, and welcome back. So I really hope that those questions have helped you. You know, my goal is for you to pass your BCBA exam. I absolutely love what I do. I wake up every day feeling blessed that I get to do it, and I've got to do it for a really long time. And I don't want this exam to be in your way of helping you do the things that you love. We all deserve to do the things we love. And if you're in the field where you want to help kids with autism or whatever it is, whatever part of the field you want to use your BCBA exam for, you're doing it because you have a heart of service. So I want to be here to serve all of you guys. I really hope that this video has been helpful for you. I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I've actually been working on one really, really big video project. And that's why it's been about a month since I posted my last video. I'm excited to announce it today on this video. I'll be announcing that I'm going to be putting out a full mock 185 questions and explanations as a video, as a YouTube video. It's going to be about 5 or 6 hours worth of training. I could sell it for $100 on my website, but I'm not going to be doing that. It's going to be a free gift to you, and it will drop on April 7th in honor of Autism Awareness. It will be just available on YouTube. So that's why it's been a while since I've posted. I have been making content, but it's going to be one really big, long video that's taken me, it's been a labor of love over the last month. So I am going to ask you, please, 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 share this channel, share this video, let people know that that video is going to be coming out. When it does come out, post it in your groups, share it with your friends, use it in your study groups. I really put a tremendous amount of time and effort into it. Most other people think that I'm insane for not charging for it, right? I could totally have sold it as a course on my website, but I'm not. It's just a free gift for you because I really, really want to see you be successful. On that note, I do have other things on my website that are available. I have the B intensive. If you did struggle with this topic, this is part of B. If you had any other questions about B, you can check that out right on my website, hopeeducationservices.com. That will, if you did miss a live video and you want to get the recording before the last one, that's fine. Just email me or text me. My phone number and my email are on my website. So a lot of you guys will just call me and ask me questions. So feel free to email me, text me, give me a call and ask me if you can get the recording, and you can purchase the recording if you can't make it for the next event. But I do have a B intensive, I have a D intensive, I have a G intensive. There will be more intensives coming out. That's when I do full day workshops on one part of the task list. and lots of other exciting things. And I also do tutoring. So if you want one-on-one tutoring with me, you can check out my website for that as well. Again, that's hopeeducationservices.com. I cannot wait to drop that next video next Friday. I know it's going to be just one of the best resources, definitely the best. I'm gonna be bold and say the best free resource available to help you study and pass your exam. So subscribe to this channel if you're watching this, and you will get it next week. And if you are watching this and maybe you're not watching it on the day I put it out and that video already dropped for it, look for it. There's going to be a full BCBA exam, 185 questions with explanations, and it's going to really cover pretty much most of the task list. So check it out, and I'll see you guys then.